Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Erin, I'm Queen Bee Tarot, and today I'm going to be giving you guys an overview of the astrology that we're dealing with. We are wrapping up Mercury retrograde. We have a new moon today in Libra, and this is the last moon cycle before we have an eclipse cycle. So what does that mean when I say this is the last moon cycle? Well, as an astrologer, there are quite a few things that we take into account when we look at the planetary overview and what's happening for humanity. And on the Earth, we are most affected by the moon. It is a quarter of our size. It orbits around the Earth so closely that it pulls the tides and it pulls us. And the moon represents our emotional state. The moon moves through a sign about every 2 days, but it does one complete cycle through the zodiac every 28, 29 days. So when we say as astrologers that we are in a particular moon cycle, what we're talking about is when the new moon happens, that marks the beginning of a new moon cycle. And so for 28, 29 days, we're going to be going over themes that have to do with wherever that new moon happened. So today is new moon in Libra, and that means we're really hammering home any themes or concepts related to Libra. It is associated with tarot card justice. It is all about balance, equality, give and take, justice, morality, and the appreciation of the finer things in life, wanting to live our best lives, wanting to align with our ideals. So when we have this new moon in Libra, that means for the next 28, 29 days, we're going to be continuing this theme. And the reason I said we're kind of hammering home the theme of Libra right now is because Mercury has been in retrograde in Libra for the past week and a half, almost 2 weeks. But Mercury just popped back into Virgo. It went backwards so far, it left Libra and entered Virgo. And so anytime a planet is at the final degrees of a sign, the way that Mercury is at the end of Libra right now, it adds this feeling of hurriedness, like we're rushing to finish up lessons. There's a sense of urgency to whatever it is that we're learning right now. And so Mercury having been retrograde in Libra means that we've been going over these Libra themes for quite some time, especially when it comes to one-on-one relationships, communication, and our headspace, including how we perceive situations around us and how our perceptions of what's happening around us dictate our inner mental process. So now that Mercury has popped back into Virgo, there's a sense of wanting to perfect everything that has come to our attention over the last couple of weeks. And this new moon cycle means this is a great opportunity to really integrate anything that we've learned during this time, any realizations about the relationships in our lives, or whether or not there's balance throughout our lives. Sometimes we find during this time that we've been spending way too much time at work or way too much having fun. So this is a time of bringing balance back into our lives and doing it in a healthy way, which is what Virgo encourages. So what I've got in front of me, I'm giving you guys an overview of what's happening, but I've got in front of me a chart for today's new moon. And I'm going to go into detail about the 12 zodiac signs and how the astrology of today and the next month is going to affect you. So as I mentioned, we have eclipses coming up. And what I meant by this is the last new moon cycle before the eclipse is that we've got this new moon in Libra today. And in 28, 29 days, we're going to have a new moon in Scorpio. But that new moon in Scorpio also happens to be a lunar eclipse. And what that means is that the Earth and the moon and the sun are aligned so perfectly that the moon is eclipsed. The Earth creates a shadow over the moon, and it's a time of kind of turning the light off when it comes to our moon energy, which is our emotions and our intuition, and really paying attention to our sun energy, which is accentuated during this time, giving ourselves an opportunity to be reborn. The sun represents our sense of self. And so during a new moon lunar eclipse, We are releasing our emotional attachments to who we are and how other people perceive us. And it's an opportunity to be reborn in the way that we perceive ourselves and the way that we live our lives. So in 1 month's time, we've got some really interesting astrology. I say interesting because I can't quite find the words right now. I do want to tell you guys, this is the calm before the storm. I'm not an alarmist, but the eclipses that are coming up, we have a new moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio, just like I said, in 1 month's time. And in 1.5 months, we have a full moon solar eclipse happening. The moon is going to be in Taurus and the sun is going to be in Scorpio. So the upcoming eclipses are going to be really intense. I'm going to go into the astrology of those in my next video as we start to lead up to that time. But I really just kind of wanted to make a video today to help people integrate the lessons that they've been learning over the last couple of weeks with Mercury retrograde. Take this opportunity to have this be a new beginning where you really commit yourself to balance, being the best version of yourself that you can, and doing things in a healthy way in your life, because the eclipses coming up have the potential to really throw everything off kilter, and it's important that you put into practice now healthy coping mechanisms, healthy communication strategies, especially when you feel upset, and especially, when you feel upset, learn how to kind of remove yourself from the situation or take a quick break, and don't make any major decisions or say anything you'll regret in the heat of the moment. But that's advice that could go all year, right? But right now it's especially important to approach everything that we're experiencing with curiosity and with peace in our hearts. Okay, so now that I've had the general overview for everybody, I'm going to go into what the next couple of weeks are going to look like for each sign. Like I said, I have this chart in front of me. This is the new moon chart, and what we've got is this obvious opposition here that's creating this big red line. So you don't have to be an expert astrologer to be able to feel the vibe from a chart. They make it so easy on astro.com. The red lines represent challenging interactions between planets, and the blue lines represent positive or helpful interactions from planets. So we've got this cool, it almost looks like a sailboat. This is the chart for the new moon today. This is the chart for the full moon in 2 weeks. Still kind of have the sailboat shape. The new moon solar eclipse almost looks like a cup waiting to be filled. And then the full moon solar eclipse is going to be really intense. This one we've got a T-square happening. So right now, this is the calm before the storm. We have a pretty little sailboat and we're integrating everything that we've learned. And the main things that I'm going to be looking at are the new moon, which is happening right now, but also this big opposition is happening between Mercury, which is our logical way of thinking about things, and Neptune, which is our intuitive way of looking at things. And to have the two opposite each other right now represents that we're having a really hard time finding the middle ground between our logic and our intuition. Things might be fuzzy. We might be either deluding ourselves or dealing with cloudy communication from other people, having to sift through and find the truth or the core message of anything that we're experiencing. So communication and understanding are really foggy. And so again, this is not a time to react in an emotional way, because we might be coming from a place of misunderstanding. So think before you speak. This new moon is opposite Jupiter. And so this is also a time of feeling really bold and courageous, and quite possibly seeing ourselves in the best light, but deluding ourselves as to what our true motivations are, or how we may possibly be mistaken in our perception or misguided in our approach. So we may not be completely clear right now on our own actions and our own thoughts, which is really integral to remember, because speaking from a place of not being clear usually ends up in something like embarrassment or perhaps even burned bridges. So please, please think before you speak right now. For Aries, the new moon is happening in your 7th house. So if you are an Aries sun or Aries rising, this is a new beginning for you when it comes to balance and relationships. Leading up to this new moon, there was possibly a lot of situations in which you had to set boundaries or stand your ground or speak your truth. Again, this is kind of the calm before the storm. This is a calm time where you can really settle into this new balance that you've created. But Jupiter being in your 1st house right now means that you may be kind of putting yourself a little bit on a pedestal. So it's important not to let ego or self-delusions or self-grandeur kind of cloud your mind and make you forget to be humble. So Aries or Aries rising, this is a really important time to stay humble, to keep seeking that balance, and remember that you are human just like everybody else. Mars is about to go retrograde at the end of October, and I wanted to bring this up because anything you do right now that is misguided or deluded is going to come back to you in the form of having to explain yourself. If you speak without thinking right now, in a month's time, you're going to have to make apologies. You're going to have to explain yourself. You're going to have to give the other person an opportunity to speak their truth. So be really careful if you are an Aries or Aries rising about what you say right now. The other important thing to note is that Mercury has been retrograde in your 6th house. So you have been rethinking your daily routine. You've been rethinking whether or not you feel healthy. Maybe you've been considering some dietary changes or letting go of any unhealthy habits or coping mechanisms. You've been really slowing down during Mercury retrograde and being present in the moment and looking around you and noticing where you've left strings untied or where you've left clutter, or you've been really kind of noticing all those details right now. And it's good because this is a great opportunity to be the healthiest version of yourself right now. And Neptune, creating a little bit of fog, is in your 12th house. So there's a sense that maybe your dreams are kind of weird right now. Maybe you've been dealing with anxiety or depression, and that's probably a catalyst to making some healthy choices or changing your daily routine in order to support your mental health. There's also an indication that secrets might have been revealed recently, and that's going to continue being a theme. If you haven't been telling people what you really think, the truth is going to be coming out, so just be careful about how you phrase it. There is definitely a message for you that the truth does need to be spoken, but how it's delivered is going to make a huge impact into how it's received. So think carefully about what you say. Don't completely hold back, but think about what you say. Okay, so moving on to Taurus. If you are a Taurus sun or Taurus rising, the new moon is happening for you right now in your 6th house. So this is a time for you to have a new beginning when it comes to your daily routines and your health, and especially your mental health. If your working space or your living space is cluttered, this is a great opportunity to do a reset when it comes to your surroundings. And it has been proven that working in organized surroundings can help you be more organized inside of your head. So clean workspace, clean headspace, and same with living space. You've also probably been making some really awesome dietary changes, and you're going to be at the point right now where you're ready to say, hey, this is working for me. Whether it's eliminating sugar or booze or anything else that really hasn't been working well with your body, this is a time to keep it minimal, keep it fresh, and listen to your body, make those healthy choices and commit to sticking with it. And these are going to be lifetime changes that you're going to end up looking back and being really proud of yourself for. The opposition with Jupiter for you right now, Taurus, is definitely making you feel more optimistic about your headspace when it comes to your spiritual development. Perhaps you're picking up new skills. Perhaps you're integrating a new meditation exercise. And the positivity that you feel from these paths of spiritual development, or perhaps just cleaning out your headspace, maybe even working with a counselor or journaling. Healing your headspace right now has been helping you feel really, really good. And it's going to have an effect across the board in all aspects of your life. So definitely keep up whatever you've been doing to clean out your headspace. It's going to help you be more optimistic and make healthier choices. Mars is going to be retrograde at the end of October, and you're going to have an opportunity to be rethinking your values, your possessions, and your relationship with money. It's possible that the changes you're making right now are going to make you think later on down the road about shifting your relationship with money, like how much you work, or how you spend your free time, or maybe cutting back on expenses so that you can be saving up for something that's really special to you. So just kind of keep that in mind. You're not going to want to splurge right now because Mars is going to be retrograde in your second house in a month's time. That could be when the bill comes for something silly that you buy right now. With Mercury being retrograde right now, it's really important for you to not make any big purchases or big financial commitments, because in a month's time, you might have to return that item, or you might have an issue with the bills that are coming in because you forgot to save. So be careful with your money right now, Taurus. Mercury has been retrograde in your fifth house. So the theme during Mercury retrograde for you has been whether or not there's room for you within relationships, or whether or not people are perceiving you in a way that you feel as though you have outgrown. So you've been rethinking how people perceive you, how you present yourself, and how you wish to be seen. It's also really important for you, though, during this time to remember that the most important relationship you have is with yourself. And it doesn't matter so much what other people think. What really matters is what you think. So be careful not to craft your outer personality just for the purpose of having people see you a certain way. The theme for you wrapping up this Mercury retrograde is going to be authenticity, and whether or not you're holding space for that, and whether or not your relationships create space for that. Now, the part of you that might be either lost or fuzzy or misguided or deluded has to do with your 11th house, which is community. It's society in general. And again, I feel like there's a theme happening here for you where you might be realizing that you care too much about what other people think. But also there's a theme of your evolved personality now. With all the work that you've been doing the last couple of years, you are ready to be seen in a different way, and you're also ready to be taking different roles. So whether or not you've decided to commit to some sort of charitable cause, or to do a little bit of a career shift that allows you to be more conscious, more humanitarian minded, it's going to matter to you more moving forwards that what you're doing for work and within your community is meaningful. Empty relationships, empty jobs, things like that are really going to bother you right now. And things that touch your heart and allow you to feel authentically you are going to be the most important things for you to prioritize right now. Okay, moving on to Gemini. I am going to move my camera a little bit because the sun is coming into my eyes. Hopefully this works out okay. All right, so Gemini, the new moon for you is happening in your fifth house. Perhaps you have been having a few blows to the ego. Perhaps you have whittled things down to the point that you feel like now you are being authentically yourself. And for a while, it felt like an awkward shift between friend circles, between relationships, between a lot of things have been changing for you. But through the process, you've been asking yourself, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And now this new moon in Libra for you is happening in your fifth house, indicating that the shift is over, and now you are stepping into some really important new relationships in your life in which you feel like you are seen for who you truly are. All of the work you're doing is paying off now, and it is being reciprocated. It is being returned to you. People are noticing how much you've done. People are responding to you in a different way, and the interactions that you're having feel more healthy, more meaningful, and there's not so much empty conversation. You really are loving so much more of your life. Like there's more time to play or be joyful. Something big has shifted for you, and you're starting to see it come back to you. The new moon is opposite Jupiter right now, and Jupiter's sense of expansion and optimism is happening in your 11th house. So as I was saying, all these inner changes that you've been doing not only are manifesting in your one-on-one relationships, but you're also starting to take on new roles within your community. Perhaps you've shifted careers, perhaps you've made other alignments in your life that allow you to be active in your community or interacting with society in general in a way that really suits the new you. So all these massive shifts that you've done recently, give yourself a pat on the back. I bet it's starting to feel really good. Mars is going to be retrograde at the end of October, initiating a bit of a redo. And for you, it's going to be in your first house. So there's going to be some sort of theme in a month's time where you're going to have to go back over this new role or this new persona that you've created for yourself. Whether it's going to be additional training, if for example, you've gotten a new job, or maybe you're going to get a new wardrobe, because for your first house, that's how people see you. So in a month's time, you might be getting a new haircut, or starting to dress in a new way, or getting some sort of new personal item, or like decoration, like jewelry or something like that, a new tattoo. There's going to be something new happening for you with your exterior appearance in 1 month's time. But it's going to be newness, but it's also going to be a redo. It's going to be a way of reaffirming, this is who I am. This is who I want to be moving forwards. Almost like a declaration of self. And then Mercury has been retrograde in your 4th house, causing a lot of communication breakdowns within the home, within the family. It's also been really bringing you to a place of realizing where, if at all, your mental health might need a little bit of TLC. Your headspace, but your emotional space has really been the topic of Mercury's retrograde for you. So any balance that has been throwing, or any lack of balance that's been throwing off your emotional health lately, you've really had an opportunity to kind of check that and think about, okay, how can I really hold space for my heart? How can I change my schedule, for example, to allow myself to go to counseling or to have some more me time? So Mercury retrograde, though, has been in opposition to Neptune, causing a little bit of fuzziness for your career path and the legacy that you're leaving behind. So you might be grappling with themes of overwork or perhaps underwork. Emotional health is important, but also so is a paycheck. So there's been a theme for you of making changes that allow you to be the healthiest version of yourself, and at the same time still have a successful career or a job that really works for your lifestyle. Moving forward, Cancer, the new moon for you is creating an opposition between your 4th house of emotional health and Jupiter, creating this opposition to the new moon in your 10th house. So Cancer, you're starting to get to a place, this is going to be a time that you look back and say, hey, starting from this new moon, I really start to feel better. I feel like I can now kind of expand my reach when it comes to how much I'm working or how much I am furthering my business goals. So you've been doing a lot of work to kind of reestablish balance in a way that allows you like you've withdrawn from a lot of stuff that you were doing. You kind of cocooned and spent some time either in your home or resting, recuperating, kind of pulling back from a lot of commitments that felt like too much. And now that you've pulled back and you've been recharging your batteries, this new moon marks a new beginning for you, Cancer or Cancer rising, where you are rethinking your career with positivity. You have more optimism about what you're able to accomplish. Now that you've whittled things down to the bare minimum, you're going to start reintroducing commitments or ideas or efforts that are going to really start to further your career in a way that continues this theme of emotional health. And you're going to have a new eye when it comes to not overextending yourself moving forwards. You're going to, when you do restart your career or the efforts that you are doing, you're going to make sure that you have a schedule that really works for you and isn't overcommitted. The Mars is going to be retrograde at the end of October. And so you're going to be having a little bit of a redo when it comes to clearing out your headspace. You might have to speak your truth about something. You might have to explain why you've withdrawn over the last little while. It's going to be a time of seeking clarity and taking proactive measures to continue having clarity moving forwards. So instead of a couple of weeks or a couple of days or a couple of months afterwards, asking somebody what they meant when they said something, you're going to resolve to seek clarity in the moment or as close to it as you possibly can. You're also possibly, if you are spiritual minded or you're on a path of spiritual development, Mars retrograde for you in a month's time could mean that you're going to take some classes, you're going to take some courses, do a meditation exercise. There's going to be something about kind of re-sparking your spiritual activities. As much as you've withdrawn from your career path lately, you've also withdrawn from some of the spiritual practices that you used to do. So in a month's time, it's going to be a time of kind of either re-signing up for that yoga that you used to do, or restarting a meditation practice that you used to do on a daily basis but you haven't in a while. And then the opposition between Mercury retrograde in your third house and Neptune in your ninth house has been really challenging when it comes to wanting to have elevated conversations with people, but finding that not everybody is as focused on growth as you are. Mercury retrograde has been a time of really thinking about the relationships that you have and the quality of the conversations that happen therein. So Mercury retrograde for you has been a time of recognizing, wow, these friends happen to always say negative things, or, you know, on the opposite token, shifting your energy and your awareness to people that talk about growth, they talk about revolution, they talk about being their best selves, living with integrity. Integrity and the pursuit of awareness have taken a really high priority for you. So Mercury retrograde has been not only showing you what it is that you crave, but also showing you where it is you feel like it is lacking. The delusion or the fogginess that Neptune creates might have you thinking, is this as good as it gets? Am I stuck in a rut? How can I expand from this? So don't allow yourself to get lost in the quicksand of doubt and despair. The challenge for you right now is being positive and being hopeful. And if you're not happy with the connections that you have, reaching out for connections that really make you feel alive and re-spark that thirst for knowledge and understanding. So big shifts with your friend groups, big shifts with the topics of communication that you engage in, and maybe even feeling a little bit bored or disillusioned, but it is an opportunity for you to seek newness. Leo, the new moon for you is happening in your third house. So you may find yourself now surrounded by new friends or new connections. This has been a time of big shifts for you and building up to these new friends and new connections. You may have felt kind of lost at sea, like there isn't really anywhere to anchor. There aren't familiar faces. When we kind of pare down and tighten our friend circles, it does feel a little bit weird, but at the same time, it's refreshing. And that's what's happening for you. This new moon is an opportunity to really celebrate that even if your friend circle is much smaller or tighter at this point, the connections that you do have are ones in which you feel like you can be authentically you. There's healthy communication. There's a pursuit of common goals. And the connections that you do have make you feel cherished for who you are. So this Mercury retrograde for you, Leo, has been all about, reflecting on your values, reflecting on your sense of, okay, what do I have that reflects how I see myself? Does it feel like my efforts are paying off? Does it feel like the kind of person I am is reflected in the people that I surround myself by? So that the last few weeks for you have probably been on some level quite heavy, as you've been reflecting on senses or thoughts of worthiness, or feeling alone in this crazy, crazy world. So I would like to be able to tell you some good news that this new moon is going to bring new beginnings when it comes to friend connections, adding to your inner circle, feeling as though you are validated and cherished. So healthy relationships are about to restart for you. So really positive news. The opposition with Jupiter in your ninth house has been hard because, there's always this sense of like, have I met all the people in my area? Or how could I possibly make friends? I feel like I've tried everything. So it is going to be an opportunity for you to shift up your schedule, or introduce some sort of new activity. And if you're learning about something that you've always wanted to learn about, or if you're taking a new class about a hobby or an interest that you feel passionate about, and you meet people there, that means that the quality of your connection is going to be based off of learning and growing and practicing, a really genuine connection that has tons and tons of room to develop. So if you've been thinking about pursuing a hobby or a class or an interest, upgrading your education, do it. Because if you've been looking for new people and you can't find them, that's where you're going to find them. And then finishing up, the fogginess that Neptune has been creating for you has really been affecting your thoughts of career. And you may not have any idea what you want to do right now. But if you just keep on being you and learn a new skill, or upgrade your education, or integrate some sort of new way of working with the tools and skills and abilities that you already have, that's going to help you see your next best steps moving forwards. So don't worry if you feel foggy about your career. That fog will dissipate. After Mercury retrograde is over, you will start to see what your next best steps are. Virgo, the new moon for you is happening, Virgo and Virgo rising. The new moon for you is happening in your second house. So you've been having a big change happen recently with your income. Whether you've had a housing change or a job change, or maybe your hours have been reduced, there's a sense of newness, but it also comes with a sense of loss or closure. So the new beginning for you is an opportunity to use your gifts or skills or abilities in a new way. The highest potential for you is going to be tangible or usable when you try something new. So expand your horizons. If you're looking for a job, look somewhere that you haven't looked already, or maybe open your mind to trying something that you've never tried before. There is a new beginning happening for you, but you are going to have to seek it to find it. The optimism, the hope, the opportunity. It's interesting for you, Jupiter is in your 8th house, which means that if you have any kind of a spiritual bent, this is a great opportunity to either reach new clients or have an opportunity to connect with somebody. I don't know if you've ever heard this term, but breadcrumbs. Sometimes the universe leaves us breadcrumbs. We follow one connection, we meet one person, we have a conversation with them about what it is we're looking for, and then they say, hey, actually, I know somebody who might be able to help you with that. And so it's like this concept of little following the breadcrumbs. So if you are looking for money, if you are trying to acquire something and you don't know how you're going to achieve it, see what you can do about following breadcrumbs. Talk to people about what it is you're looking for. If you are of the mind to pray for what it is you're looking for. If you're spiritual and you're into trying a magical manifestation wish list, put your wish out there, cast a spell. Remember that you have more to utilize than just what you see and touch and hear and smell in front of you. The spiritual world, the magical world, everything is energy. So don't forget that. Work your magic. This is a time of being able to manifest more money or more resources, whatever it is your goal is. Use magic, use spirituality, or use the connections that are around you. In 1 month's time, Mars is going to be retrograde in your 10th house. So you may have a little bit of a pullback when it comes to your career efforts. Maybe work is going to be canceled. Maybe a gig you had scheduled is going to be rescheduled. There's going to be some sort of a hiccup involving your career in 1 month's time. So anything you can do now to save money, save resources, reduce your commitments, do it now, so that if there ends up being any more kind of constriction with your schedule, you're prepared moving forwards. The other way of looking at Mars being retrograde in your 10th house in 1 month's time is that it might be an opportunity to rethink how you present your business, whether it is rebranding or starting a new advertising campaign or doing something to really bring attention to your business or change how your business works. You might be kind of doing a little bit of an overhaul, either changing employees or changing your strategy or something about how your business operates. And then Mercury has been retrograde in your 2nd house in Libra, but it just popped into your 1st house into Virgo. And so again, any kind of sense of lack that you've been having lately when it comes to either relationships or money or work, as much as you may have initially been looking outside of yourself and going, oh, it's because of that, oh, it's because of them, they did this, la la la, a big shift just happened for you a couple of days ago, and it's going to continue for the next couple of days, and that's going to be a shift of looking inwards. If you have issues within relationships or with your career or with the world around you, you're going to be starting to think, wait a minute, have I been communicating my needs properly? Have I been telling people, oh, it's fine, when it's really not fine, and then being bothered that they continue to do it? So there's been, a big shift from pointing outwards to pointing inwards. Dear Virgos, don't be afraid to be humble. You're going to find what needs to be fixed, and it's probably something that you're doing. So just keep that in mind. Libra. Dear Libra, so much of a planetary focus on you guys these days. What we've got going on is, Mercury's been retrograde in your sign, but it actually just left and popped into Virgo, and it'll be there for another week. So you've been rethinking who you are and what you want and your place in this world. And now there's kind of a shift into, okay, what have I been hiding from myself? Or what about my memories and my dreams really needs to be looked at right now? You may be dreaming about exes. You may be dreaming about things that are happening in the past or having memories about things that have happened in the past. So you're probably undergoing a lot of kind of pensive reflection these days and going, about a whole lot of stuff. So let those memories come in and let those experiences kind of flood your brain, because there are messages happening for you right now and opportunities for realization. Mercury's been opposite Jupiter, and so for you there's been a sense of expansion with relationships. You've been doing so much inner work lately that now you're starting to see reflections outside of yourself where you're going, hey, okay, I'm making positive connections. I'm feeling really good about how people perceive me. I'm feeling really good about my friend circle or the people in my life. So definitely this is a time of new beginnings. I hope you're feeling really good, because the vibe right now is of freshness, of rebirth. So roll with it, enjoy the peace. Mars is going to be going retrograde in 1 month's time. And you're going to be kind of rethinking, if you have plans for travel in 1 month's time, you might be rethinking that travel. Um, Anything about either maybe taking a new course or expanding, trying something new, buying something new, um, anything with thoughts of expanding or spending or travel. There's going to be a bit of a, hey, now, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't moment in 1 month. So don't overextend yourself right now. Plan to be on a budget, even if it doesn't feel like you need to be right now. In 1 month's time, you might actually realize you need to be on a budget. Mercury for you has been retrograde. We already talked about that in your first house, but what we didn't talk about is that it's been opposite Neptune. And Neptune in your sixth house means that there's been a bit of fogginess or cloudiness around your health, or your daily routines. Maybe you've been really struggling to find a good rhythm when it comes to work, relationships, play. So there's been a sense of really needing to just kind of hope for the best, but keep up that positive attitude. You know, we can only do as much as we can, and then the rest we just have to hope or pray, and leave space for flexibility in our lives. So your idealism when it comes to living your best life, it's starting to really come into form. And the intentions that you've been putting out there, the wishes, the things you've been trying to manifest, the ideal schedule that you've been trying to balance, it's finally coming together. So have a little bit of patience. You know, you're working out the kinks right now, but things will start to be in a good flow relatively soon here. Scorpio. Scorpio, there's going to be a lot of things happening in your birthday month coming up. So anything you can do now to tie up loose ends, to not leave yourself overextended in 1 month's time, do it now. You're going to thank yourself. This new moon happening today is in your 12th house. And so there's a dreaminess about the day and about the month moving forwards. You're going to be thinking about, you're going to be reflecting on, of course, it's your birthday. You're going to be thinking back. You're going to be marking the years. You're going to be reflecting on how this year made you feel. And Mercury retrograde has been kind of setting the tone for that. You've been thinking about, am I living up to my ideals? Am I following the dreams that I used to have when I was younger? Am I being honest with myself? Am I truly, truly happy? So asking yourself some really, really deep questions right now, but it's leading you to a new beginning that's happening. Anytime we have our birthday, it's called our solar return. I'm just gonna fix the camera here because I got the sun in my eyes. Our solar return is a time of a refresh or a rebirth when it comes to how we perceive ourselves and how the world perceives us. So leading up to your birthday is definitely going to be a time of kind of quiet reflection. As you get closer to your birthday, you're going to start getting excited, but there's going to be this little quiet period right before your birthday where you're really, really deep in thought. And especially with Mercury having been retrograde in your 11th house, there's also thoughts of the bigger picture when it comes to who you are in society, really reflecting on your maturity and moving away from, you know, childish pursuits in the sense of like wasted time or wasted energy, and really wanting to kind of live up to your ideal, being healthier, being happier, doing meaningful things, perhaps engaging in charity work or doing something that you feel passionate about, volunteering your time. This new beginning for you is an opportunity to have a bit of a spiritual check-in. And so anything that you've been just going la 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 about in your life, it's going to be really hard to ignore right now. But there's a sense of optimism and hopefulness when it comes to your health. So you might be kind of marking your birthday with a few almost like New Year's resolutions where you're thinking, okay, starting on my birthday, I'm not going to smoke anymore, or I'm not going to drink anymore, or I'm going to give up sugar, or whatever it is. You're going to be thinking about having some sort of a new beginning for your health as well, but from a positive perspective, not a perspective of like punishing yourself or something, but just being like, hey, I feel like I'm growing up. I feel like I'm growing out of this. I feel like I can let go of this thing that doesn't really serve my highest good or my health, right? Um, and then Neptune being in your fifth house right now means that you've been feeling a little bit foggy about who you are. And you may have so much routine and work in your life right now that you're wondering, how can I play more? How can I get back to the joyful version of myself that I was when I was 5, kind of feeling. So you're going to want to mark your birthday with some sort of celebration. I know you tend to kind of just be like, it's good, it's just another day, whatever, but celebrate your birthday. And what you're going to have is you're going to have people who want to celebrate it with you, and it's going to feel so good to be loved and honored and cherished. So let yourself be loved, and let yourself or create that space in which you get to have positive interactions, especially if you've been working too hard lately. And Mars is going to be retrograde in your 8th house in 1 month's time. The 8th house is kind of your house. So there's going to be a sense of you're going to be taking action when it comes to shared resources, inheritances, or matters of life, death, and rebirth, whether it is writing a will or attending a funeral or thinking about your humanity in general. In 1 month's time, you're going to be thinking about yourself as a precious individual on this earth. You're going to be thinking about how special and just amazing life is. You're going to have a time of like this reflectiveness is really going to continue for you, where you're going to be thinking about, man, like, if this was my last day on earth, what would I like to be doing right now? And from that perspective of like, life is really short, life should be cherished, you're going to be changing your decisions. You're going to be changing what it is that you do, either on a daily basis or within your career or within your relationships. You're going to be taking action in 1 month's time to align with a perspective that life is to be cherished and not wasted away. So that'll be really interesting. Sagittarius, the new moon for you right now, if you're a Sagittarius sun or rising, the new moon for you is happening in your 11th house. So maybe you have just landed a role as a volunteer somewhere, or doing something with humanitarian or social benefits. Perhaps this is a new beginning for you when it comes to political activism, or doing something in society in general that you feel passionate about. This new beginning is going to be going hand in hand with a sense of optimism. Maybe in the past you felt like, oh, one person can't make a difference, but you know that saying, if you think one person can't make a difference, think about how it feels to have one stinking mosquito in your room when you're trying to sleep. One person can make a difference. So there's going to be a sense of optimism when it comes to either who you are as a person, your ability to make changes in society, or your creativity on some level, be it art or music or something else. This is a time of bringing a new level to your life in a way that you are more than just part of the machine. You are channeling a skill or an ability or a passion, and you're taking action. You're using your privilege as an opportunity to help other people, or you're using your experience to counsel other people. Who you are matters, and you're starting to realize that your story, your experiences, your life, they all were leading up to something. And this is a time of realizing a new way of perceiving yourself and your fate and the meaning of your life. Mars is going to be retrograde in 1 month's time in your seventh house. So you may be renewing your vows with your partner, or you may be rejoining a dating website when it's been years of not dating. You're going to be taking action, but in a going back over or like a redo kind of way. When it comes to your one-on-one relationships, you may be reestablishing a contract with an employee or a partner on a business level. You might be having to redo paperwork when it comes to joint possessions or shared property or resources. So the other thing happening for you is Mercury has been retrograde in your 10th house. So you may be rethinking your whole career path in general, especially if you've had a spark of creativity reignited in you, or a spark of passion about wanting to help humanity. You may be rethinking your career as a whole and going, hey, am I wasting my time? Have I exhausted the path in front of me? It's going to be a time of feeling really, really bored with anything that doesn't get you excited about life. So you're going to want to make changes to really cultivate more joy and more passion and more creativity in your life. But the challenge for you is of not being realistic about your resources, or perhaps not being realistic about your emotional needs. You know, if you have a really, really bad day at work and you go, F it, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna pursue my dream of being a musician. I'm just gonna quit my job and walk away from this. You may be passionate in that moment, and may be touching on a real skill that you have, but the reality of quitting your job to just be a musician, you might end up not being able to pay your bills in a month. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. You're going to have this passionate wave of really wanting to make a huge shift in your life. But the challenge for you is not to be acting rashly. Don't burn any bridges. Don't make any sudden decisions. Think about what it is that you would like to cultivate in your life, and then think about the steps to get you there, but don't shoot yourself in the foot, if that makes sense. Okay, moving on to Capricorn. The new moon for you is in your 10th house. So if you are a Capricorn sun or rising, you are embarking on a new career or a new level or path within your career. Either you are starting a new role within your company, maybe you've got a promotion, maybe you've just expanded your business, maybe you've just restarted your business after being closed for a while. This is a new beginning for you and how you present yourself as well. But what's happening is, because the new moon is opposite Jupiter, there's a sense of optimism when it comes to your emotional health and your energetic reserves. So what you're doing is you're either expanding, maybe you're taking on new hours or new responsibilities, thinking, oh, I feel great, I could do this forever, no problem. 10-hour days, nah, whatever. 7-day weeks, oh yeah, totally, I'll be fine. No. So even though this new beginning is a great opportunity for you to have a fresh start when it comes to your career, don't overestimate your capabilities or your energetic reserves. In 1 month's time, you're going to have a bit of a redo when it comes to thinking about, holy crap, what have I done to myself? Either your daily life or your daily schedule. You're going to have a redo and have to either cut back or rethink how you approach your day. So definitely, Capricorns, don't take on too much. Take on a little bit, but be realistic about your capabilities. Don't overestimate yourself, especially in a moment of feeling like on top of the world because you just had a coffee and you're like, woo, I can do this. Be realistic. Think about your weakest moments or your most difficult mornings and plan around that. The Mercury's been retrograde in your 9th house, so you have been rethinking themes of expansion, wanting to do things differently. You've had a great opportunity over the last couple of weeks to really kind of formulate that plan moving forward. So when it comes to these career changes or taking on new opportunities, you really have thought it out well. But as the days go forward, you're really going to want to keep checking in with yourself and say, okay, at the end of the day, how do I feel about this? Or is this client too much? Maybe I could just cut out one and then my schedule will be reasonable. Allow yourself over the next little bit to modify or adjust according to your emotional health. But the expansion is good. You're on a good track. There may be a little bit of miscommunication when it comes to your inner circle, your friends, the people you hang out with. So if there's anything you're not clear about, make sure to ask for clarification instead of going off on a tangent thinking you understood what they said. Communication's really foggy right now. So don't make assumptions, and don't shoot back from a place of heightened emotions either. Aquarius sun and rising. The new moon is happening today in your 9th house of expansion. So whether that's manifesting as an opportunity to maybe go out to eat at a new place, or maybe you're thinking about traveling, or maybe you're about to start a new course, you're getting an education and you're learning new things. This is a time of expanding your mind, and over the next month you're really going to be soaking up all kinds of new information and new experiences and adding to your inner library of understanding and experience. This new moon is creating an opposition with Jupiter, meaning that you're feeling quite hopeful about the communications that you're having lately, about the friends you've been spending time with lately. You're just kind of really in a good place right now, feeling on top of the world and feeling like even though you do have challenges in front of you, you feel well equipped to handle them and tackle them. The Mercury retrograde has been happening for you in your 8th house. So maybe you've been rethinking your human existence. Maybe you've been rethinking life, death, rebirth, karma. Maybe you've been reflecting on the choices you've made in the past and thinking about karma, thinking about how your current life or your current world right now is a reflection of the choices you've made or the energy you've been putting out there. Don't be too hard on yourself. You know, humans make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but there's a really good opportunity to think about how we all reap what we sow. And whatever it is that we are doing is an indication of how that energy is going to come back to us. You know, if you want to receive more from your work, from your friendships, then you're going to be thinking about, okay, what am I putting out there and what am I receiving in return? Am I being clear with my communication, or am I not telling people how I feel and then getting mad when they don't know? So you can't assume that people are psychic. You can't assume that people are going to behave the way that you would, or make choices the way you would, or communicate in the way you would. Nobody's you. And it's going to be a time for you of kind of reevaluating your expectations of yourself, of the world around you, and of the people in your life. So it's going to be a time of deep thinking, but definitely like you have some amazing opportunities opening up for you. There are new beginnings across the board. So be proud of yourself, of the effort that you've been putting forwards. The other thing happening for you is that Mercury has been opposite Neptune, creating this kind of fogginess. And for you, Neptune's been in your 2nd house of money and finances and resources. So likely a lot of the decisions you're making right now to either expand your horizons or take on new work or learn new things, it's coming from a place of lack. It's coming from a place of feeling like, okay, I don't have enough money, or I don't have what I want to have in my life, or I'm not seeing the results of my efforts. So if you feel like maybe this is an indication right now for you to double down and try harder, do it. Now is not the time to blame anybody else for what's happening. You know, if somebody behaves in a way that is genuinely hurtful or something like that, then of course they're responsible for that. But what I mean by blaming other people is like how sometimes people can be like, oh, the man is keeping me down. A general blanket assumption that the world is against you, or that you're cursed or something like that. That's what I'm referring to. So the delusion that could be happening for you is a distraction from personal responsibility. So everything about your astrology right now is indicating to take personal responsibility for your life, for your energy, for your relationships, for your choices. And if you don't like it, you can either accept it or you can let it go or walk away. But sitting in it and complaining about it, not an option. Hope that makes sense. Okay, Pisces. If you're a Pisces rising or a Pisces sun, the new moon is happening for you in your 8th house. And this is going to be a time for you of either realizing that you are tapping into new psychic abilities or realizing that your gifts have really grown. This is a time of recognizing the energy around you, feeling really, really tuned in. Perhaps the veil is really, really thinning for you right now. Maybe you've been noticing spirits or noticing energy or feeling just completely different, like there's something in the air. Whatever it is you're tuning into, mark it, validate it, journal it. Keep track of anything that you're picking up on right now. If you're receiving downloads and receiving messages, they're real. You're not imagining things. So mark it, journal it, keep track of it. This is a new beginning for you in that spiritual realm where you are sending and receiving on a level that is new for you, that you either haven't ever before or you haven't in a long time. You're feeling way more tuned in, but at the same time feeling really, really sensitive. So hold space for that sensitivity instead of pushing yourself to do things that make you feel uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable in large crowds right now, avoid large crowds. You don't have to force yourself, because this sensitivity that you're experiencing is something that you can use to really tune into your gifts, to tune into your higher power. This is a great time for meditation, manifestation, and like I said, working with your skills and gifts. This new moon for you, dear Pisces, is in opposition of Jupiter in the 2nd house. So you might have been feeling down in the dumps about perhaps your finances or your resources, but this is a great opportunity for you to make a magical manifestation wish list to manifest the money or the resources that you need right now. Don't forget to tap in and tune in and use your connection with spirit. The 3rd dimensional reality, it really is captivating, and sometimes we forget and we think, oh, this is all there is, but it's not all there is. The spirit world is real, magic is real. So this is a fantastic opportunity for you to manifest any money or resources that you need right now. Do it. You're really, really tuned in. Mars is going to be retrograde in 1 month's time in your 4th house of emotional health. So in 1 month's time, you are going to be taking action to kind of reaffirm you need space from a chaotic world, or you need to work from home, or you're going to be setting boundaries in 1 month's time that all have to do with supporting your emotional health. So anything at all that empties your cup instead of refilling it, anything at all that is extremely frustrating or depleting for you, in 1 month's time, you're going to be saying, hey, now I'm done, or reducing your interactions with things that exhaust you. And then Mercury's been retrograde in your 7th house. And just like I was saying for one of the other signs, you're going through realizations where, it was really easy for you to say, hey, this person isn't behaving the way that I would. Well, yeah, of course not, because they're them and you're you. So I hate to break it to you, but the world is not going to behave the way that you want it to, and people are not going to make choices the way that you would make choices. So you got to make sure, dear Pisces, that your expectations are reasonable and appropriate. And if you're feeling upset that somebody is behaving in a way that you personally wouldn't, you got to remember that they're not you. If you have expectations or standards or needs within any kind of a relationship, a work, romantic, or friendship, you have to be clear with your communication about what it is that you're hoping for. Or if somebody does something you don't like, you have to be clear and voice your displeasure, of course, in a respectful way. But you can't get mad when other people don't psychically know what you're thinking or how you're feeling, right? Okay. Be clear with your communication. The fogginess that Neptune has been creating has been around your perception of self. And it is quite possible recently you've been frustrated with people and it's been really easy to point out what they're doing that's frustrating, but the fog has been around your perception of yourself. So somewhere along the line you have either been enabling people to behave the way they do, which is why they behave in a way that bothers you, or you've also been behaving in a way that bothers people, but maybe they're not telling you. So this is a time of being humble and reflective and honest with yourself. And don't expect other people to behave the way that you would, because they're not you. Okay, well that about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any questions about the upcoming astrology, definitely comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I love answering questions in the videos that I do. If anybody has something they'd like me to answer or address, let me know. I'd love to. So have a great day. Stay safe out there. And I wish you guys all the best. Thanks for watching. Mwah!